Hello, everybody. This is Chuck Wiger at the state capitol, and I'm with Mike Smith. Mike, Pastor Smith is the Senate Chaplain, and many people in Maplewood, the greater East Metro area, know of Mike through his being a pastor at Redeeming Love. You have worked with thousands of families over the years, so welcome to my office.
Well, it's good to be with you, Chuck. I appreciate everything that you're doing, Senator, for our area, and you've been a longtime friend.
Well, vice versa. And so I appreciate what you're doing in the role as Senate Chaplain. And could you share what that role is in working?
Sure.
And it's a nonpartisan
That's
type
right.
thing in terms
That's
of,
right.
and we start our sessions with prayer. But tell us about the role of the Senate Chaplain.
Well, it's really basic. For one thing, I've just always had a heart for everything that is happening right here at the Capitol. This is the this is a place where there's so many things that affect our whole state.
Yes.
And so, for some time as a pastor in the community, I've been praying for this for all of you, as a matter of fact, and even for you personally, because you're the senator for our area.
Yes.
And so we just believe that God answers prayer. But then at the beginning of, at the end of this last year, I was invited to be the Senate chaplain.
Yes.
And
Senator Gazelka.
That's
the
right.
New majority leader.
The new majority leader
Yes.
invited me to do this, and I felt that I should do it. And so what it involves for me is at least one full day of the week. I'm here at the Capitol,
Yes.
and I get a chance to visit personally with senators, and from time to time I open up the Senate in prayer. We always the Senate always opens up with
Yes.
prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance, and there's always a pastor, a clergyman that is there to do that, and then periodically I do that and fill in.
Yes.
And but then after that, I just walk around on the, just on the Senate floor during session.
You do, and you're actively listening and making yourself available, and everybody really appreciates that. You've been one of the more active chaplains, if I'd say, in terms of just getting around and listening very attentively, and we make note of that and appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I just felt that this is something that would be, for me at least, more than formality. The way I look at it, the way I say it, is that it's more than formality, it's reality.
Yes.
I feel that that if I can be in some way, just be there and pray for everybody who's discussing various issues, and just if there's a moment where I can just talk to somebody, encourage them, just to, just in some way, I want to do that. And as a result, and again, as you know, nonpartisan, just, it doesn't matter if Republican or Democrat or who the person is. I just feel that I want to be there for them.
Yes, we ultimately aren't judged on our political
We're not.
party.
We're not.
Okay.
We're not. One of the first times that I was there at the very beginning, I told the whole Senate that I'm a pastor of a local church and follower of Jesus Christ. And I believe, though, deeply, that God loves every person in that room. He cares about everyone equally.
Yes.
And He wants us to know that He's got a plan and a purpose. And I really believe that. And so after that, it's just been simply just praying and just encouraging.
Well, we appreciate that role, and the response has been very good, and we know the time commitment in being down here, and at the same time, it's something that you had aspired as well, so it's a win-win situation.
Well, I'm very thankful for my church. I've got a wonderful staff and our board. Before I did this, I told them that I feel that I needed to be more committed into this for a season.
Yes.
And I've got a great staff, and I've got great leaders and volunteers that take care of things when I do this. And so there are some things I had to give up, but in general, it's been a great thing. For one thing, for me, it's just that like everybody in this capital, we love the state of Minnesota, and it's broadened my perspective for the whole state.
Yes.
Of course, I love Maplewood,
Yes.
and I live in White Bear Lake and pastor in Maplewood,
Yes.
and I've been a part of the community for over 40 years.
Well, you have a congregation that serves well beyond Maplewood, but you
Yeah.
have ministered, I know, to thousands of families throughout that area. And in fact, it'll be approaching 40 years, your ministry, before too long.
Yeah, I'd like to say I was 10 years old when I started, but that wouldn't be the truth. But I all along, for many years, ever since May of 1981, I remember the moment,
Yes.
when I really felt in my heart that God had put in my heart St. Paul in particular,
Yes.
which is the capital of Minnesota, and then for the state of Minnesota. And so I just started to just be involved in community endeavors and initiatives that would help to serve our city. And I was a police chaplain for 12 years, and
Oh, whereabouts?
in the White Bear Lake area,
Good.
and actually, along with a few other people, we started the North Suburban
Yes.
Police Chaplaincy, and which covers Maplewood and much of St. Paul.
Yes.
And so we've just been so thankful that we could partner together with people like yourself and that care for our city.
And Pastor Mike, where were you raised? And tell us just briefly that path that brought you to Maplewood.
I'm actually from the Upper Peninsula. I'm a UPer,
Okay, okay.
But I grew up in the Upper Peninsula, and of course, that's such a beautiful area.
Oh,
I never
yes.
thought I'd leave it, but I came to the Twin Cities to go to college and went to North Central University,
Okay.
and
What made you decide that you were going to enter the ministry?
well, I was a musician actually, and I was studying music, and I just to make it just a brief moment.
Yes.
I really had a moment where I just really believed that there was a shift in my own heart. I just felt that God had changed things within me.
Okay.
Actually, there was some circumstances that led up to that.
Okay.
But I really felt that after I was studying music, just within my own heart, I just wanted to change because I started to really sense that this was God's direction for my life. There's a place in the Bible where God says, in Jeremiah 29:11, he says, I know the plans I have for you. They're plans to not for evil, but for good.
Yes.
And I really felt that God had plans for my life, and like he does for every person that's watching this, God has a purpose and a plan. And so
After North Central then, and did you continue though with your music?
Yes, I stayed. I stayed as a musician for a while, and actually, and then eventually became a worship leader.
Okay.
And a choir director, and I just got involved with drama and just a number of things
It
like
all
that.
goes together.
It does,
Yes.
and actually, back in 1970s, the late 60s and early 70s, I was
Yes.
also a hippie,
Oh,
And
I did not know
You
that.
well,
Okay.
I'm trying to hide or just get rid of all the pictures of that day. I had long hair and a big, huge mustache. It was one of my kids found one of those pictures one time, and they said, "Dad, look at this," and they were laughing about it. But then my son said, "You used to be cool," Then he looked at me and said, "What happened?" In other words, what he was saying is, it's like, I don't want to lose my coolness like you did, Dad, But I was, and so I played guitar, and it just really, and that's really a process of starting me
Yes.
into pastoring.
Yes.
And I found out that in my own heart, I cared about people, and just wanted to see them, just come into God's plan for their life.
So Redeeming Love has been in existence since the early '80s. Came to Maplewood,
Mhm.
the old Montgomery Ward site in early 1990s, right, Viper Avenue and Highway 36. But tell us about the church.
Well, we did start, a lot of it started with a coffee house ministry that I was involved in.
Okay.
And it was during that Jesus People movement in the late 60s, early
Yes.
70s, and a lot of lives, a lot of young people were being changed. And there was
Hippies, too.
hippies,
Yes.
yeah. They came out of the drug culture.
Yes.
And they found their answer in Jesus Christ. And we just formed a community, and we became a church basically. And
Where was the coffee house?
it was actually in White Bear Lake, and
Okay.
there was just a house that somebody owned that.
Did you have a name?
The Bread of Life.
The Bread of Life.
And I was partnering with a few other people, young
Okay.
people in this, but then for me it just grew. We brought all these young people into this church community, and then in May of 1981, and actually I was working with my dad, who was from the Upper Peninsula,
Okay.
and he was a pastor up there, and he came and we worked together and started the church. My dad actually became the chaplain of Canterbury Downs the first 10 years that it was open,
Okay.
and because we were horse people also,
Yes.
and I was raised in rodeos and horses,
Okay.
so so we started that, and then in May of '81, that's when my dad felt that he wanted to go back into the chaplaincy,
Yes.
and basically I became the lead pastor,
Yes.
and it grew, and it was originally in White Bear Lake.
Yes.
We started meeting in the high school auditorium, and it grew out of that, and
Yeah.
we needed some space, and the only property that was big enough, that had enough area, was our current location, which was a Montgomery Ward's building.
Yes.
It was built in 1970. I remember watching it being built,
Yes.
and thinking, boy, that's a huge building,
Yes.
but it became our church,
Yeah.
and so that's where we've been since 1993.
Yes, and yep, a big congregation, and I've had the privilege of going to
Mhm.
different services, have had some of the kids,
Yeah,
and a number of friends that we share. So,
that's right.
and this ministry really does an outreach, just beyond just East Metro, but you take a global perspective.
Yeah, we do. We've got we've got missions that are in different parts of the world.
Yes.
And actually our church is really representative of that. We've got 28 different nationalities that all worship together.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like a mini UN building, you might say, because just through the years, as all the different countries and people have immigrated into the Twin Cities,
Yes.
they've found that they've been loved and honored and accepted, and so they all worship together. There's a Hmong church that's really growing and vibrant that we're a part of. That's a part of us. Life in Christ Church that meets
Yes.
Sunday afternoons, and it's just vibrant. And so we do have a perspective of